Hello, this is Gretchen, the Verdant Crafter. Today I'm going to show you 10 cards I made using the November 2017 Simon Says Stamp Card Kit of the Month. This card kit was called Kind Flowers. It came with these beautiful stickers from Pebble Heart of Home collection and 18 single-sided 6x6 pattern papers which coordinated with it. I love the gold foiling on these papers and on the stickers. There were also 3 sheets of embossed paper in silver, bronze, and gold. I really love the gold. And these were 8.5 by 11 sheets that I cut in half so they were a little easier to use. But if you got the kit, you definitely know that they came as whole sheets. There was also a piece of dark chocolate, cream, green apple, and green leaf cardstock. These were 100 pound from Simon Says Stamp. I cut them in half the long way and scored at 5.5 inches. The black hat you see is cobalt. I recently changed my camera setup and it's being modified to try and make it a little easier to use. Isn't this paper gorgeous? I love the gold foiling and all these little cut aparts. A lot of the paper, especially the gold foil paper, was so pretty I just couldn't use it. Look at that one. I think, and here this piece, a lot of the cut aparts lent themselves more to scrapbooking, but you could use quite a few of them for card making or for a more scrapbookish card. There were these Doris sequins that happen to be gold leaves. I have a whole bunch of those in my stash as well. And this gorgeous Kind Flowers clear stamp set with the coordinating Kind bold outline die. It has so many nice sentiments and it's huge. It's 6 inches by 8 inches. There's the die. I love this stamp set and I definitely plan on using it a lot. There were also 2 pearlized envelopes, which I totally forgot about. We're jumping into card number 1, the White Feet Belong to Bruiser. And here I'm adding foam tape to the back of one of the stickers. This is of, I think it's a boy, but it could totally be a girl. It looks like a silhouette. I'm using the chocolate cardstock and I'm just de-sticking the edge of the sticker to make sure that if it gets crushed in the mail, it won't sort of collapse down on itself. There we go. I love that he's sort of ferns. So you see his silhouette, but it's definitely very naturey. These are all kinds of scraps from the paper. They're that top little panel that has the hole in it. I'm going to heat emboss one of them with one of the sentiments from the Kind Flowers stamp set. And the one that I'm using is "You Are One of a Kind." I love this sentiment and it feels like something that you could give to pretty much anyone, which I think is unique. A lot of the sentiments in general that we stamp seem to lend themselves more to to girls. So it's always nice to find one that's very, very unisex. Here I'm using some foam tape to pop it up. And then I'm going to use some gray mist or gray oyster Nouveau drops. These are translucent. You could completely use clear Nouveau drops or glossy accents. I thought that the gray would add a little bit more dimension. I'm just sort of burping it on the edge on a scrap piece of paper to make sure I don't get any air bubbles, which didn't work because I did get one air bubble, but it was in one of the last ones that I made. This was a very simple card, but it's so pretty. I love this card. Moving on to card number 2. This was another pretty simple card. I have this gorgeous pink sort of gingham paper that I've cut to be 4 inches by 5.25 inches, and I'm gluing it onto the cream cardstock. These are top folding cards. I pulled in a piece of MFT metallic gold paper. I think it's brushed gold paper. which I totally forgot wasn't actually part of the kit because I really thought it went so well with the kit. So I cut apart, I've got your back, which was in one of the cut apart sheets. And now I'm popping that whole thing up with foam tape. I'm putting it at the top 2/3 of the paper, and I'm going to glue down some of these Doris leaves. I thought about using a sticker there, but it didn't feel quite right. I am going to use some multimedia mat, which came in last month's kit, so it was fantastic to keep using that. Also, I was out. I think this was a great kit for making encouraging cards. I've got your back, you're one of a kind. Thankful, grateful, blessed, kind, kindness, you are one of a kind, you are kind of amazing, be courageous and kind. Here I'm going to use some Rose Water Nuvo drops. These are translucent, and I'm scattering a few across the page. I wish I hadn't put quite as many as I did, but I have such a hard time stopping myself from adding more and more Nuvo drops because they're so much fun to add. Those two on the edge, the last two that I added, were the ones that I really wish I hadn't added because they don't really add anything to the card. Moving right into card number 3, I'm not going to make you sit through me choosing which paper to use and heat embossing and all kinds of stuff. I am gluing down which paper? Oh, I'm gluing down, I believe they're little white hearts on a pink background onto a green card. There is no close-up picture of this because it already got mailed off to a friend who's undergoing cancer treatment right now. I'm sorry I didn't think of taking a picture. So yeah, in the sticker sheet there was this rain boot. I'm adding a whole bunch of foam tape along the back so when it's mailed it should stand up pretty well. I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool anywhere that the sticker is still visible so that if it does get crushed it shouldn't be sticky there. Next we're going to peel off the foam tape and we're going to stick it in the lower left hand corner. I just love this sticker. One of the pieces of foam tape was visible, so I'm just trimming it off there with my scissors. These are Fiskars scissors and they're very nice. I like that they're spring-loaded. I'm adding some foam tape to the sentiment, and I believe this says you are one of a kind. That was one of the sentiments that I used, and you are kind of amazing a lot. Those two sentiments and you are my kind of person were the 3 sentiments I used the most when I was stamping these. I definitely plan on using these more. So, sorry, I didn't realize the camera was shaking then. I did peel the foam tape off and I glued this right down onto the paper. You can see right there. You're my kind of person, I think. There I'm going to test my gray Nuvo drops. These are the translucent ones, and I'm adding just a few onto the page. And I wish I'd stopped, but it looked really nice in the end, and it was such a sweet card, very simple, and just perfect. Now we are going to move on to card number 4. This card, you're going to see me do a bunch of stamping and heat embossing. These were flowers that came in the kit. I also stamped and heat embossed the kind with the flowers around it, which I didn't show you that I did. And I also stamped, I stamped and heat embossed the flowers, the leaves, the kind sentiment, and I watercolored them. I used my Mission Gold watercolors. I bought it almost probably 8 months ago, but I really haven't used it very much. I tend to go back to the Winsor Newton set that I have that I love so much. I don't show you watercoloring because it was very simple watercolors. I tried to do mostly muted colors. and it was more about for me playing around. I definitely don't want to make the video too long. Here you're going to see that I didn't pay very much attention to where I was stamping these. So there are a bunch of times when the flowers overlap. This one, I believe you'll see. There we go. I am using almost exclusively the Simon Says Stamp Antique Gold embossing powder. This was the kind flowers that I painted with the Mission Gold watercolors. I love this embossing powder. It's pretty much the one that I'm using exclusively right now because it is such a great color. It's a perfect gold. It's not too bright. It's not too shiny. It's got the right amount of brass to it. And it certainly goes with the fall themed cards that I am just obsessed with making right now. Here I'm trying to decide what sort of background I want with this watercoloring. I did do 2 watercolorings and I cut the second one out. I fussy cut around it. This one, of course, I didn't fussy cut around it. I used a paper trimmer. I want to make sure that I choose paper, and I'm sorry that it's off camera right there. That's part of what I was changing. Yeah. So I love that paper that was just there. So much so that I never actually managed to use it. I end up using the cream piece of cardstock here to mount this, and I use some of the gold foil from MFT. I just use my corner chomper to round the edge, and I'm gluing straight down the gold foil onto the cardstock. Then I'm going to use foam tape to pop up my kind flowers. I cover the entire thing in foam tape because I definitely don't want it to collapse. And there I'm trying to fuss with it because I didn't put it down straight, which was a bad idea because the foil was not dry to the paper. So finally I just give up and I move on to the glossy accents. I am covering the word kind in glossy accents so that it sort of gives it more of a dimensional, embellished look. And then I'm going to add a bunch of dots just around. So they look like water droplets because they sort of are water droplets. This is such a sweet little bouquet of flowers, and it would definitely be fun to watercolor this and watercolor the other flowers and leaves and then just pop them up on top of it. The word kind would probably end up hidden, but you would have everything else there that is just so pretty. Now we are going to move on to card number 5, and this card didn't start out like I thought it was going to, so we changed it up. I am stamping on a piece of vellum and I'm going to heat emboss the cursive kindness with hot chocolate embossing powder from Nuvo. I think it's called hot chocolate. You can see in the upper right hand corner there's another piece of paper that I had stamped and heat embossed the word kindness with the same embossing powder, but I just didn't like how it looked. Here I'm going to stamp Your Kindness is Appreciated on 2 of the little scraps of paper. Here I'm going to stamp on this sort of brown wood grain piece, and I'm embossing with the Simon Says Stamp Antique Gold embossing powder. I'm also going to stamp on a light pink piece of paper, but I decided I didn't like how that looked. This card is all brown and cream and gold. It's very pretty, and while the embossed paper is definitely very floral and the kindness is definitely a very scripty word, I think that you could give this to a guy and it wouldn't be too feminine because it is very masculine colors. Here I'm just folding the piece of vellum around the embossed paper, which I cut down to be 4 inches by 5¼ inches. I'm using some tape to stick it down in the back, and I use glue to attach it to my dark chocolate cardstock. Here I'm just using my scissors to trim down the 2 pieces that I heat embossed, and I'm going to add foam tape to the back of both of them, I think. I am going to end up using the brown one. I thought the paint just introduced a color that was nice but wasn't needed. Because these were scraps of paper, I really did have to very carefully trim them down to make sure that there was nothing else showing, particularly the perforated edge on one side. This was a very simple card, and I simply adore it. Moving on to card number 6. Card number 6 is very simple, and it's very scenish. This was inspired by Vicky of Clips and Cuts, who is a fantastic paper crafter and a fantastic artist. Here I have a house made of wood and stone, but only love can make it a home. Oh, sorry, a house is made of wood and stone, but only love can make it a home. I cut that out, and one of the embossed pieces of paper that was brown, I matted it on that, and I ran the edges on my dark chocolate ink from Simon Says Stamp, because this paper, you know, it had a white core, so I wanted that covered up. I also cut a little hill from the paper, and you can see I used the sticker of the house behind it, and I used one of the trees in front of it that I used lots of foam tape on. Here I'm using foam tape on the back of that little sentiment block. I think this would be great to give someone who's moving into a new house or apartment or starting a new chapter of their life. I'm also going to use some Nuvo drops. These are sort of a pearlized white that is simply fantastic. This color happens to be called Ivory Seashell. And per usual, I'm adding more than I probably should. It looks fine, but I need to learn to be a little bit understated. Go figure. And now we're moving on to card number 7. This is another very simple card. So simple, in fact, that I forgot to film part of it. So there's this cut out part that says hi. I cut it out and I ran it on the chocolate ink from Simon Says Stamp, and I put this sticker on top of it. I used foam tape all along the back, and I'm sticking it on my apple green card base. And again, I'm adding way too many Nuvo drops. This is a very simple card, and I really wanted to use this cut apart that said hi. I had been trying to use it on almost every single card I had made to date, because I like to say hi. Who doesn't want to say hi? Who doesn't want a card that says, hello, how are you? There you can see I'm definitely going overboard with these ivory seashell Nuvo drops, but they're so pretty. I love that this was such an encouraging stamp set, card set, paper set. You could really make a lot of different cards that were all very nice. This is card number 8. It is my other Phantom card, aka I have no idea where I put it after I made it, so there's no close-up pictures. I'm sorry. I'm using the silver embossed paper, and I heat embossed with this Emerald City embossing powder from Love from Lizzie. The kindness on vellum, and I cut around it, and then of course I used tape, and now I'm gluing it down. And I'm putting it onto I think it's the green leaf, the lighter green of the 2 cardstocks. And I heat set and stamped in, I think, gold or maybe brown. You are one of a kind. Here I'm using some of the double-sided tape. And I did actually add a little bit extra glue on the back of it because even though it's double-sided tape, it's going down on some stuff and I don't want it coming up. Also, the cats were very helpful and there was probably cat fur on the back. Here, I'm just adding a little bit of multimedia matte behind the embossing. I held that down to make sure it was secure, and here we go. You are one of a kind. Card number 9 had one of my favorite pieces of paper. So I have one of the cut aparts. It's wood grain and it says thankful, grateful, blessed. I'm using foam tape to stick that up and I'm putting it on the top 2/3 of the card. Then I have a whole bunch of those flowers that I heat embossed with the antique gold embossing powder, which matches the gold foiling in the paper perfectly. And I watercolored using my Mission Gold watercolors. Here you can see I do have foam tape on the back of that flower, but I am using some multimedia matte because it's not going down on a flat surface. And again, I was afraid that cobalt, that was the siding, might have gotten a little bit too much cat fur on it, aka any cat fur on it. Here are some other flowers that I'm putting at the top. There were also some leaves you can see that I sort of tucked behind in places. This is a very simple card and I think it's very pretty. It's sort of delicate. Certainly the flowers have, the watercolored flowers a little bit bolder because they have bolder lines, but they're just fun. Now we're on to card number 10. I'm using some glue to glue down this piece of paper that I cut out to be 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches onto my last cream card base. And I'm going to use the cut apart that says, home is not a place, it's a feeling. I used a bunch of foam tape on the back of that, and I'm going to end up sort of sticking it mostly in the middle. It's a little bit above middle. Here I'm using a bunch of the different stickers and I am just playing with them to get them where I'd like them to be. I try to use those, but I don't think the roses go with it, especially given the paper in the back has daisies and the daisy that's on the cut apart. There I'm adding the large daisy, and I'm going to end up tucking some of those big leaves behind that large daisy and one behind the small daisy. And you don't see me, I don't think you see me complete this card, but it's a pretty simple card to figure out, and there is a picture at the end. These were very simple cards to make. They were fun. I'm definitely going to be I definitely will enjoy giving these to people, especially people who are moving into new houses or apartments. I have one friend who's currently going to be moving soon once the place that she's renting opens up. So this will be something great that I can give her. I also love all of the great sentiments in the stamp set. They're so positive, and one of my sort of secret goals, don't tell my students, is to make and give a card to each of my students for Thanksgiving and then again for New Year's, because I don't really feel comfortable giving them a Christmas card. So this stamp set will be perfect for that. I didn't use the die that says or cuts out the word kind, but it perfectly matches the stamp set. These are the pieces of paper that I didn't use because A, I couldn't bear to cut them apart. They're so beautiful, or B, I sort of wasn't sure what I was going to use them for. These are some more of the specialty embossed paper that was left, and I adored it, especially the cream paper. These are the gold leaves from Doris that I had left, and I have tons more from buying sequins a long time ago. This is the gold cardstock that I thought came in the kit and totally didn't come in the kit. These are my scraps of paper, so I have a whole bunch of pieces that I cut to be 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches because I thought I was going to use them, and I just didn't. Silly me. I will go back and make cards with them, but I sort of needed to move on at that point. Here's a bunch of the cut parts because I did cut everything apart, and the extra pieces. And here is the sticker sheet that I forgot to show you. This is what I have left over. And these are the cards. I want to thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed these. I know this is a very late video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I hope that you were inspired. If you have used the kit, I hope that you've had as much fun as I have. And if you haven't used the kit, I definitely encourage you to break it out. Especially with those stickers and the cut aparts, it's going to be super fun and super easy to make a whole bunch of cards that are just light and cheerful and nice. I hope that you have a great day. Thank you. Bye.